Hello, everybody, and just want to welcome you back to my channel. Um, so I know this channel is fairly new to a lot of people, and I know a lot of the recordings on here have are fairly new. Um, a couple of my videos on here go all the way back to 2 years ago. So if you go back and you look at those previous videos, um, this is a Telecaster style guitar body, as I'm sure a lot of you may recognize. So 2 years ago, I was still fairly new to um, finishing guitar bodies. Just actually doing any kind of wood finishing at all. Um, we bought this guitar body from Music Lily. We purchased it on Amazon. Um, and 2 years later, we have been through the ringer with this guitar project. So much so that I do not have any electronics ordered within that 2 years time. I don't even have a Telecaster neck ordered because I have a very busy work schedule. I work for our county government at our juvenile services center. And the worst part is I work graveyard shift. I work third shift. So um, a lot of my time is spent sleeping during the day, which absolutely drives my wife crazy. Um, but I mean, we're working on moving on to a new career path. But everything's a work in process, work in progress. So, but this guitar body, though, honestly, for the last 2 years has been such a daunting task. And it's been a combination of things. A lot of it's been inexperience in any kind of finishing work whatsoever. I've watched lots of videos. I've on YouTube. I've watched stuff from the Highline Guitars channel. I've watched Brad Angove, who's out of I want to say he's out of Toronto, Canada. I'm not sure. You know, he's got a lot of subscribers, a lot of followers. Um, I've watched numerous videos online, and I've learned a lot. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, um, but sometimes things just don't go according to plan, and we have painted, clear coated, sealed up this body. Weather conditions weren't right. Had to strip the guitar body down. Um, we've tried to use a heat gun to remove the finish, remove base coat. Um, we've had paint, soak into the wood. Trying, we've done whatever you can think has gone wrong with this guitar has gone wrong. I mean, we've sanded the edges and have took too much wood off the side, and there's been like an unevenness in the curves and stuff. And there was a period there where I had gotten so disgusted and so discouraged with this guitar. But the big mistake that I made with this guitar body was, before diving right into the project, I should have done some test pieces first. And I think sometimes in life we just you should always be confident in your abilities. But if you're taking on a new project and you have absolutely no experience, in that area of whatever you're trying to achieve. It's always better to do like a test run on something first before you go jumping right into your project. And honestly, that's what I should have done. But I got a little too overconfident, and it just for the last 2 years. And some people might say, "Well, gosh, why didn't you just give it up after a while?" Oh, trust me. I there was a point there where I had enough, and I was so frustrated and so discouraged that one of two things was going to happen. I was either going to just take this guitar body and pitch it in the trash, or I would just use it as just a test piece in itself and then just order a brand new guitar body down the line. But with that being said, I have gained a little more knowledge, a little more experience on what I need to do, and I made the decision today that regardless of what it takes, we're going to see this thing through, and we're going to get this thing finished. We're giving ourselves a 6-month time frame to get this thing fully done, fully painted, fully clear coated, fully level sanded and polish sanded, and electronics. Just getting the whole thing built and finished, plugged in, and just just being able to see this thing through. Because I'm telling you right now, there were times I felt like this thing had took years off my life. But with all that being said, we've learned a lot. We've learned what to do. We've learned what not to do. And I mean, that's anything in life. Anything you want to achieve in life, it's a lot of things are just trial and error. But at the same time, though, you got to be smart. And like I said, I should have, for this method that I was using to paint this body, I should have done some test pieces first. Chris at Highline Guitars, I was talking to him about some of my struggles with this thing, and he flat out said, "Yeah." And if you ever talk to Chris is normally is pretty much a pretty nice guy, but he is very blunt and very forward at times, and he just would flat out told me that I totally did not tackle this the right way, and what I did was kind of stupid, which kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, but hey, whatever, you get over it, move on. I'm not a luthier, never claimed to be, and so this is my Telecaster body that I ordered from Music Lily 2 years ago. And right now I have the cavities taped up. And like I said, this thing has seen better days, but hey, it's not about the condition it's in, it's where it winds up ending up. Now you might be saying, what in the world is all that, reddish looking stuff around the edges? Well, what that is Bondo glazing and spot putty. Because when I was trying to remove the paint from this guitar body, I made the mistake of trying to use a Dremel to get some of the tough spots. Well, I wound up leaving some gouges in the wood, and yeah, not, like I said, I should have found a different way. I mean, I had used a heat gun on the majority of this body, but I just, yeah, like I said, it's just another one of those things that would, if you think everything has gone wrong up to that point, there's always something else that can come along too. But it's okay. It's no big deal. We learned a lot. So what we're doing, I applied some of that Bondo glazing and spot putty around the areas where, I got crazy with the Dremel and gouged into the wood. So we put some of this glazing and spot putty on to try to fill in some of them gouges. We're going to let this dry overnight. We're going to come back tomorrow and we're going to try to level sand this stuff and see where we're at as far as if it wound up filling in those gouges really well. If in fact it doesn't, what we're going to wind up doing next is we're going to get some wood epoxy. If this does not work, it's basically a really thick wood putty that's used for repairing damaged wood. So if this does not work, you know what? Honestly, we're probably just going to go ahead and buy it anyway, and just go over the top of this stuff to begin with after we get this thing, nice and sanded and leveled and everything. But so after we get that finished, after we get this glazing putty sanded down and the wood epoxy, we wind up going over the top of that to help repair those areas. We're going to sand all that down beautifully, get it sanded smooth. We've done some sanding already on the top and on the back here. But we're going to wind up having to do some more. But also, this thing has been sanded so many times, especially around the edges, trying to round these edges off, that what we're going to do, we're going to purchase a router and a 3/16 round over bit, and we're going to go along all the edges, even up by the neck pocket and on the back. Get these edges rounded over really nice. And we're going to wind up probably purchasing a belt sander. And some of these edges here where we had, where the orbital sander had dug in a little too much and wound up leaving like a dimple on the edge of this wood. We're just going to go over with a belt sander, get these edges sanded nice and flat. And like I said, we're going to get this thing back to where it needs to be so we can start applying the finish. Now, you might be wondering, okay, well, what's your plan? Well, I'm sticking with the original plan that I went with 2 years ago. So this is alder. After we get everything repaired, get everything sanded flat, and get everything nice and smooth, we're going to seal up the wood. Now, in the past, I've used Zinsser shellac in a spray can. You can actually use that to, as a sealer. The reason I like using alder is you don't have to grain fill because it's a very non-porous wood, but you still have to seal the wood up and able to apply your base coats and your clear coats. So after we get all of our repairs done and get this thing right where we want it to be, we're going to seal this up with, and we're going all water-based products here. So we're going to be sealing this up with Crystalac sanding sealer. We'll probably do probably at least 2 or 3 coats, whatever it takes to get the body sealed up. And then as far as our base coat, we're going to prime it with Autoborne Sailor Gray by Createx. Get that applied. We'll let that dry overnight. Come back with maybe some 800 grit sandpaper. And the thing about the Autoborne Sealer, when it fully dries, it has kind of like a rough texture to it. And it's really probably also depends on what size spray gun, what size needle you use when you're applying it. But we'll get that all nice and sanded smooth, and then we're gonna paint this with a red pearl. That's actually what's on the tape in the cavity here. We're gonna apply that with Wicked Colors red pearl, and then once we get our base coat done, we're gonna go over it with Crystalac Bright Tone Instrument Finish. And regardless, I'm not sure how many coats of the Crystalac we're going to go with. The last time I had done this, I had done 6 coats. And the problem at that time was when I went to do my level sanding and polish sanding, I didn't exactly use the best kind of abrasives. And I wound up, well, I'm just going to flat out say it. The guitar had a lot of imperfections even after the clear coat was sanded and polished. There were a lot of imperfections. And being somebody who is new to finishing, I wasn't really all that concerned about it. I mean, my attitude was, it is what it is. But my wife, my wife brought up a very good point. And she said, regardless of whether you're doing this for yourself or doing it for somebody else, don't you want to try to do your best and get the best possible finish? And even though even though this project has put us through the ringer, the more I got to thinking about it, it was like, you're right. I mean, I have to do, the best job I can, because there's no point in, attempting something if you're not going to put your all into it. So we're going to base coat it with Wicked Colors Red Pearl. We're going to use Crystalac Bright Tone Instrument Finish as our clear coat. We're probably going to put at least 10 coats. But this time around, we've learned a lot. And one of the most important things we have learned is when you go to do your final finishing, you have to use top quality abrasives. So I'm sure a lot of people watching right now have heard of Super Asolix by Eagle Abrasives. That's what we're going to be doing to do our level sanding and polish sanding. And then when we get done with our clear coats and sanding everything beautifully, we're going to take everything to the buffer over here. And right now I have some 6-inch diameter wheels. I got 3 sandwiched together on each end by Harbor Freight. But we're going to wind up switching to some better wheels probably within the next couple of weeks here. Probably either some 10 or 12-inch wheels. We already have one of the Menzerna compounds. This is GW16. It's a fine finish polishing compound. But if you see on the running order here, it goes in 5 steps. Step 3 is a medium compound, and then step 5 is like a super finish. Well, this is like right in between that GW16. Excuse me. And honestly, we could probably, when we get everything done, we could probably get everything polished up on this guitar just using the GW16. And then to remove any fine scratches or swirls, I would probably wind up using this Chemical Guys All-in-One Polish and Seal It. I've actually used this in the past. It's amazing. But for my other buffing wheel that has not been used yet, I'm more than likely going to wind up getting Menzerna G52 or Manzurna P175 because they're both a super finish. I mean, the gloss level is like a 9 to 9.5. I mean, it literally, I've seen this stuff used on other people's guitar projects, and it just makes it makes the guitar body just look like glass. That's how beautiful it is. And then what I'm thinking, because one of my most favorite guitars, and I've never owned one, but Fender used to have a line of guitars called the Strat Plus. So basically, they were, it was a Stratocaster that had lace sensor pickups. Well, for a brief period, Fender also did what was called a Telecaster Plus. And what was different about the Telecaster Plus and a regular Telecaster, a normal Telecaster, you would have, the bridge pickup, and then you would have a tele neck pickup. Well, in the Telecaster Plus, they had a lace sensor dually in the bridge, and then they had like a kind of like a lace sensor Stratocaster style pickup in the neck. Well, I'm going to be doing my own version of the Telecaster Plus, except it's going to be different. The bridge is going to have a lace sensor Telecaster red pickup. It's like a very hot wound pickup. It's like a 13K. And then in the neck, instead of having a normal Telecaster neck pickup, we're going to have the dually in the neck position. I'm not really sure what dually we're going to have because there's so many of them. But I'm thinking of getting a purple emerald. The purple is supposed to be like a P90, and then the emerald side is supposed to be like a Texas Special. But that's what we're talking about doing right now. And instead of doing a normal Telecaster maple neck and maple fingerboard guitar neck, I'm actually thinking about getting a Telecaster neck pickup with an ebony fretboard, and then have some locking tuners. And I'm actually even also considering getting an LSR roller nut to take this project one step further. So we got a lot to do, a lot of work ahead of us. I know this video has gotten extremely long, but that's the plan for right now. So thank you all for watching. If you have any questions or comments, just drop them down below. I'll get back with you as soon as possible. And I appreciate you sticking with me, as we just getting started in this channel. I mean, I'm not a content creator. I don't do well doing this stuff, but I appreciate anybody who does follow me. So take care, have a blessed day, and we will see you next time.